Hey, what's going on, everybody? BDF44. So I want to talk about those attorneys who are brandishing weapons. I believe somewhere in the southern state. I don't want to mistake that, so I'm not going to say which states. I'm not certain, but they were basically a bunch of protesters headed to a government official's house, and en route to this person's house to protest, they were met with some homeowners who were armed with, one was had a handgun and the other had an AR-15. There's so many things you could say about this. There's so many different ways to unpack this. There are a lot of people who have a lot of feelings about this, and of course, I do reserve the right to bear arms in an open carry state. So I'm not going to take that right from anybody, not even people that I don't agree with. But I will say that there are ways to handle things, man. There are ways to handle things. If these people were knowledgeable about what was going on, the movement, and if their hearts were in the right place, you could still come outside with your weapons. People will know what time it is. You have your AR-15, you lay it on the side, you fold your arms, and you say, I don't know why you're here, but I'm going to tell you this. If you come up here destroying anything, it's going to be a problem, and leave it at that. I probably would have did that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's ways of doing things. You could still send the same message without looking crazy and making people feel like you about to kill them. And making people feel like you don't understand the reasoning behind their frustration. Now, granted, I don't believe this person did, nor do I feel like they give a damn, because they are probably one of them, honestly. It's pretty easy to tell who's who in that regard. But nevertheless, there are ways to do things that don't put you in a position to get canceled, to get thrown in jail, or whatever fallout is going to have from this. Have people wanting to come back to your house to burn it down later on. You come outside like a decent individual who's cautiously optimistic that nobody's going to harm your stuff, but prepared if they do, and nobody's tripping. You don't know the intentions of those individuals, so I'm not going to hold you to a certain standard that makes it as if I'm supposed to expect you to know what their time, what time they're on, what their focus is. I'm not gonna hold that to anybody, because I don't know what anybody's purpose is. For all I know, they're walking down the street and they may see this man's house and they may throw something at his car or something. Maybe they break a window in his house just to. You don't know. But what you also don't want to be is irrationally fearful and end up being in the wrong as to which these individuals were, in my opinion. If he would, like I said, come outside, you can have your gun, put it down. Put it down. Maybe come outside with some water bottles, offering people what you have, saying I stand in solidarity with you. So long as you guys don't hurt my property, we good. That's the type of energy that everybody on that street would have respected. It would have been even better if he were a supporter, but then again, if he were a supporter, he would have never came outside with weapons anyway. I don't think anybody, and I can't be certain of this, but I don't think anybody even knew he lived there. But in his selfish, self-centered mind, and I say his, but I'm talking about him and his wife, in their self-centered mind, they consider themselves the center of attention in their world. So obviously these protesters are clearly coming to destroy their property. Like, are we kidding me? They don't even know you exist. They wouldn't know you there if you stayed your ass in the house. It's just one of those situations where you're like, man, they have lost their minds out here. They've made up their minds that we're going to go straight to civil war and that everybody's coming to murder them and kill them. Ain't nobody trying to kill you, man. We're trying to stop violence. That's the spirit of the movement, not no freaking continuation of murder and mayhem. Nobody wants to see that stuff. That shit is traumatizing for children. We still want our kids to be able to walk down these streets. Nobody wants to cause a civil war where you don't know where the bullets are flying around. We don't want that. We have enough of that in our inner cities. We don't want that everywhere. We want you to do right by people and set forth a precedent that allows people to get educated, become homeowners, be able to do certain things that every American should have the opportunity and the right to do without obstacles, without ridiculous situations in their way. And we certainly don't want to be murdered in the streets by citizens or cops. You know, we're fighting against that kind of thing. But when you buy into the propaganda, you read all the rhetoric about how we're looking to harm you, and we're looking to make you pay for stuff that you didn't do. You misrepresent our image in your own minds. It's not what most of us are about. And for the ones who are not very good people, we can't speak for them. They don't represent us. I've read people say so many different things about how these individuals had the right to protect their property. From what? Exactly. Because it seemed to me that they were just overly paranoid and completely out of touch. And that's putting it very, very kindly. If they treated people like people instead of like cattle, there would never be a reason for any of this. Nobody would ever have to march about anything on any level if decency was on the forefront of your hearts and minds. Not decency as it pertains to helping yourselves, but decency as it pertains to standing in solidarity with people that have nothing to do with you, that you may not know or understand. I'm over it, man. I think everybody is at this point exhausted. Every 10 minutes it's a new story. Every 3 days it's a new injustice situation that we have to deal with, have to react to, or what have you. And it's obvious the other side is absorbed too. They have their propaganda machine pushing a certain narrative on them, just like we have our propaganda machine riling us up, making us think about this shit all day long. Both sides are being played. That part is evident. It's been evident. We all know it. But it doesn't take away from the fact that we have a legitimate gripe, and it's not going to silence us no different than someone telling us to shut up. That's the understanding that I want people to have about myself. It's not like I don't think I'm being baited into this conversation. I just think it's a necessary conversation to have regardless. It's a fight that should have been had from the beginning. Regardless of whose agenda is what, it literally doesn't matter as long as we handle the situation. As long as we get to the root of the issue and start making changes. Whoever's agenda is for us to fight, their agenda is going to fall apart anyway. The spirit from which they are working is it's not good. It's going to fail. But the issues at hand, they need to be handled. We need to make the atrocities of this country's history common knowledge. Common. Like everyday household stuff. People need to understand what their flag really flies for. And if they still want to be a part of it, then at least they'll have all their choices laid out for them. Because I think a lot of people who are so-called patriots have a false sense of what their country represents, and are buying into a propaganda machine that is making them think a certain way, rather than allowing them to put together facts and go from there. I really believe that. And I listen to people, they say the same stuff over and over again. It shows me that they're reading the same material, all of them. And when the logic breaks apart, and undoubtedly it always does, they either do one of two things. Either they bring God up and say it's God's will for you to suffer, or they just start hurling insults at you. Because the logic will always break apart. Anybody that believes racism, systematic oppression is something to overlook and accept and move along with, or anybody who looks at these situations and then immediately goes to a political party as a means of blame, they don't get it. They don't get it. They want to go to the problems of African Americans, black on black crime. That's a fun one. That's a real fun one. But they never want to dig deep into to the reasoning behind why those individuals are in those places in the first place. They don't want to dig into what was done to those people to put them in those positions and why they would be as so ignorant as to kill one another and where they would get the weapons to do so and why they're inebriated with the liquor and the drugs that they have. We're not going to even talk about any of that. You're just going to skip all of that and go straight to the end, which is them fighting. Not asking ourselves, why are they fighting? Not saying, oh, they don't have any control over their own circumstances because of a system that has made it so. And that's why they're doing what it is that they know how to do. Because there's a lot of pain and aggression bent up in them, and they don't have no one to take it out on but each other. We ain't gonna talk about that, huh? We just want to talk about the fact that they're killing each other, and that's it. That's the end of the conversation. We ain't gonna dig into that. We're not gonna try to get a solution for it or nothing. We're just gonna look at the problem, say stop looking at the cops, look at yourselves, take accountability, as if the accountability is not on you first for putting these people in these circumstances, for turning the other cheek and allowing yourself to sit in your little happy little plantation homes while people, human beings, are suffering, and you could do something about it. You hold no responsibility to those individuals because they're black, because they're us, because they're over there. All you know is that when we come on your land, we better stay back or you're going to shoot. Giving absolutely no credence at all to why you would even fear us in the first place. Why do you fear us? Because you've wronged us and you know you deserve everything that comes your way from us. Because of it. You know this. No matter how much deflection, how much bull crap propaganda you read, you know in your hearts the wrongdoing begets reaction. And that reaction has not come on your heads the way it's supposed to. That's why you come out on your lawns with your guns out. Because you know goddamn well you deserve it. Anything and everything that you fear. But the kicker is, we're nothing like that. It's not in our heart to even do that. Half of the destruction that they've blamed us for wasn't our doing. Half of the reason why you believe we're savages is because you were buying the lies that your cousins told you about us. We're not even like that. Sure, we have some people in our race that are no good. We know that. We deal with them on a daily. We're not confused by that. Just like we're not confused about our allies who have fought and died, who aren't black. We're not confused by that either. You're not going to tell us we're confused because you're deflecting. We see all of that. We know we have friends who are white. We have friends who are black. We have enemies who are white. We have enemies who are black. We are fighting against a mindset and a cooperating system. Not skin. We couldn't even lie to ourselves about that if we wanted to, because we've lost people as recently as 2 weeks ago in protest who were not African American, who were white, Spanish, Asian. People have died in the name of these protests. And we're not going to even dig into the history of how many individuals who are not black who have fought and died alongside us. Too many to count. We're not confused. And you're not going to convince us we're confused. That doesn't work anymore. Take it for what it's worth. The bully is you. The threat is you. We're the ones in the right. We're the ones that have been wrong for a very long time. We're the ones that have been shoved aside and told to stay over there and never revolt. Never try to fight. Never try to get what's ours. And above all else, never love yourself. Hate yourself, love our whiteness, love our money. That's what we've been taught our whole lives. Forgive us for what we've done to you, but don't dare expect us to give you any fairness. That's what we've been told our entire lives. The injustices against you are to be overlooked, and that the flag and these songs are to be exalted, worshipped, so to speak, and that it's God's will for us to suffer. We know God. You're lying, and you know it. PDF.